Hi everybody, welcome to Tall Oak Homestead. My name is Carrie. Thanks for joining me today. Got a few projects outside that I want to take care of and I thought I'd bring you along. First thing I'm going to do is harvest my garlic for this year. My brother Don and his beautiful wife Julie came for a visit this past weekend and they brought me a bay leaf tree, which I'm very excited about. We're going to pot that up, and also a pineapple sage, which I've never had. Then probably I'm going to forage around in the garden a little bit to see what I can dig up to make a salad for my lunch today. So come along, let's have some fun together. I planted this garlic last October and I'm very excited to get this harvested because last week I used up the last of last year's garlic. So I'm gonna just try and loosen up the soil a little bit around them, trying to be far enough away that I'm not going to dig into any of them. I just don't like to pull too hard and have the risk of damaging the garlic bulb. So we're gonna have to dig these up and we're gonna get them out, and then they have to sit for 2 weeks to cure in a kind of in a spot that's not in direct sunlight, that they won't get wet and where air can circulate around them. I don't really have anywhere outside I can do that, so I'm going to get them as cleaned off as best I can, and I'm going to store them downstairs on my grow racks. All right, let's see. First one here. Oh, it's a good size. So I'm going to be very careful not to damage the skin. Get as much of the dirt off as I can. And we're just going to store them in here till we can get them downstairs. And you need to make sure when you know you're going to harvest your garlic, not to water it. So I've been very cautious the past weekend not to water my garlic. I've been watering everything else, but not the garlic, and it makes it much easier to harvest as well. You got to be careful not to peel off this skin here, because that's what's going to cure, and it gets dry and flaky, and that's what helps protect the garlic when you are storing it. And you store it just like this. You don't cut anything off. You just leave it like this. You're going to lie it flat on a rack or on anything that will allow the air to flow around it. And then after the 2 weeks, when the skin here has cured, I'm going to bring it all back outside, and I will very gently rub off any extra of the dirt that's in the bottom here, and I will cut this off, and then I'll cut off right here. And then I'll store them. I actually store all these things in my laundry room. That's where I have all of my preserves and my garlic. And any other, if I have any potatoes or squash, it's much cooler in that room. These are great size. I think what I'm going to do next year, I'll show you this bed beside me when I'm finished here. These two beds here are outside of the main garden, so all the critters have full access to them. And I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about. Is everything gets dug up except for the garlic. They don't seem to mind the garlic or like the garlic. It's the only thing that seems to really last out here. So I'm thinking what I might do for next year is plant both of these gardens with garlic. Okay, first row done.
So just a little bit of garlic information for you I thought I'd share. There are two main types of garlic, hardneck and softneck. The hardneck garlic has a hard stem that doesn't bend or braid easily, while the softneck garlic has a soft, flexible stem that braids beautifully. A lot of people store their garlic by braiding it. and I don't typically store mine like that. I like to just have mine stored in a bin. The hardneck garlic does grow better in the northern climates as they need the colder temperatures in the winter to bulb. They need to go through a cold stratification process. And I live in eastern Ontario in grow zone 6, and so garlic is very successful for me. And I typically order my garlic from Vessi's. I've always found them to be really good quality, and I get the porcelain music garlic. I order mine in September when it becomes available, and then they deliver in late fall when it's time to plant your garlic. And you should be planting your garlic 2 to 4 weeks before the ground freezes solid. This will allow the cloves time to establish roots before the winter comes. And it's suggested when you plant your garlic to plant them 2 inches deep with the pointy side up, about 4 inches apart, and to space your rows about 18 inches from each other. I typically will plant my garlic 2 inches deep and about 4 inches apart, but I place my rows a little closer than that, about 6 to 8 inches apart. Once you cover them with soil and a thick layer of compost or manure, I also cover mine with a thick layer of leaves just to protect them from the winter. You need to make sure you water well after planting, and be sure to water often until the ground freezes if you don't get enough of natural precipitation. Garlic is a heavy feeder, so you need to make sure to provide it with plenty of nutrients at the time of planting as well as periodically throughout the growing season. One of the things that I do when my garlic scapes start to appear is I remove them, because then that allows for more of the energy to be sent to the bulb to produce the larger bulb. And this year what I did is I dried my garlic scapes in my dehydrator, and then I created garlic scape salt, which is absolutely delicious. I'm hoping by next harvest season I will have my freeze dryer, and I'm so excited for all of the things I can make from my garden with using my freeze dryer. You'll notice here that the leaves on all of the garlic plants have started to turn brown, and that's when you're supposed to harvest your garlic. And then once you've finished harvesting your garlic and it's gone through the curing process for the 2 weeks and you've cleaned them up, you need to store them in a cool spot that does not have direct sunlight. And I typically either store mine in a basket or in a crate.
I'd say that's a pretty good haul. I think there are a total of 66 garlic buds here. Some of them are a little small. That's okay. Those will be good just to kind of roast on their own. Throw them in the oven in some foil and cook them up. Use them in sauces. But I'm really pleased with the harvest for this year. So I think what I'm going to do now is I have this bed empty. I know whatever I plant in here is probably going to be ravaged by the critters, but I'm still going to try anyway. I'm just going to pull some of these weeds out here. I'm going to get the rake and level it out. And then I think I'm going to plant some beans. They're the quickest thing to harvest, 55 to 60 days. I'm going to put some of those in there just to see if I can get them to grow. The nice thing of having this green space behind me is I don't always have to worry about lugging off all of my scraps to the back of the yard. If I'm weeding here, I can just chuck them in there. Well, evidence of the squirrels again. Chipmunks, there's peanut shells. And again, that's my own doing. I do feed them. But they are so cute. I'm just going to go and grab a rake. We'll level this off. It is very hot today, and the bugs are terrible. So it's kind of nice to be in this area is shaded right now. Won't be in another few hours. I will use this bed again this coming fall for garlic. And right now I'm not going to add any amendments to the soil. But when I go to put my garlic in, I will then put in some compost. We have 2 compost bins at the side of the property that by then should be ready to use. Oh, whoa, big bumblebee. Just gonna make some rows here. Maybe I'll just do 3 rows. Give them some room. I can pretty much guarantee you, though, maybe half of these will turn out because the little critters, the rabbits, and the chipmunks and the squirrels will eat them. And I'm okay with sharing them. I do have some in the garden. They're not doing the best, but they have lots of flowers on them. I'm using Organic Dominator Beans by Vessi's. I love their products. The germination rate on their seeds is always extremely high. I've never had an issue with any of their seeds. That's where I get my garlic from as well. I am planting these fairly close, but as I said, I do know that the likelihood of these all coming to fruition is not the greatest, and that's not due to the seeds. That's due to the population of rabbits we have here and chipmunks and squirrels and whatever else gets in here. And I'm okay with that. They have to eat too. My neighbor brought over some yellow beans from her garden on the weekend. I'm very excited to have those. One of my favorite things is beans in the summertime. They're just so fresh tasting, so good for you. All right, that should do it. The smell of garlic is pretty profound right here. It's nice. I just realized that my basement is going to smell really garlicky for a couple of weeks. I guess there could be worse smells, right? Okay, I'll get these covered up and I will go fill up a watering can from the rain barrels and get these watered in. We're supposed to have a very hot week and my rain barrels are getting quite low. So we're going to have to take a jaunt down to the Battlewa water station and fill up our massive water container and have it take that and put it into our rain barrel. This is the setup that we have for our rain barrels. So on that side, it goes into those 4 and back here into those 2. And then we have, Andrew's put together a pump for me and hooked it to a hose up here. And then I just go in and water when I need to. He does have an irrigation system set up, but because I've made the garden so large, it's not doing the greatest to produce a lot of proper water because there's just so much space in here. We don't have a pump strong enough for that. So I just go in with the hose and it's working great. But this is the watering can I was just talking to you about. We go and fill that up and then we pump that back into those so we can water. Right, I'm going to give these a good water. I'll have to make sure to come out every morning and give them a good drink until there's some germination. Usually it's about 7 to 10 days. I'll have to check the package and see what that says. It's lovely here in the shade, but I tell you, the bugs are awful today. Should do it. Okay. 1 product harvest and another one put in the ground. Call that a win-win. What does it say on here? Doesn't say when it germinates, but it does say it matures in 55 to 60 days. So we have plenty of time for that. So here's a little garden bed beside that I was telling you about. You can see there's 2 little red onions that have been dug up. That was a cabbage. That's sort of a cabbage. But you can see that everything, there's holes everywhere. That's just bug eating those. But there's another one that's been dug up there. And it's a losing battle just because these are not within the garden and, you know, surrounded by the fence that we have over here. So that's why I'm trying to put things in here that will survive. The onions, I'm just going to leave the ones that have been pulled out. The others that have not, I'm going to leave those as well. And we'll see how it goes. But as I said, I think next year I'm just going to put both of these as garlic. Seems to be what works well here and doesn't get dug up. In my next project, I'm going to get my bay leaf tree planted. I'm very excited for this because I do actually use a lot of bay when I'm cooking. And I wasn't sure whether it was a shrub or what it was. So when my brother brought that for me, I was really excited. It was really sweet of him. So I'm going to put a little bit of dirt in the bottom. Normally I do this in the greenhouse, but it's 110 degrees in there right now. That's a little warm. So I'm going to put a little bit of dirt in to start. And then I'm going to put the container in here so I can fill the dirt in around. Just make its own little hole. One of my favorite YouTube channels is Garden Answer. And their property is just mind-blowing. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I caught this trick from Laura. This is how she does her transplanting. And it is a great concept. I might have to get another bag of dirt, actually. Just dump this in and work it around. Okay, get some of that dirt out of there. I'm gonna have to go and get some scissors. I'm gonna have to cut the root ball out of this container. If you just slide that out. Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some scissors to cut that. Had a little bit of a landslide there. I'll lay it down gently. I just don't want to cut into any of the roots. No. So this can go in full sun, part shade. It's not hardy enough to be left outside over the winter, so that's why I'm putting it in this pot as opposed to putting it in the ground so that I can bring it inside in the wintertime. The trunk is straight, but the branches are a little off. It's going to get a bit more dirt. Can you hear the wrens in the background? Right beside me here is Andrew's grapevine apparatus. On top, we've got a bunch of little birdhouses, and they're full of wrens. I'll give you a quick shot of that in a second. Okay, there is my bay leaf tree. Very excited for that. Now let me find a pot for my pineapple sage. That should work. I believe in this area pineapple sage is a perennial. I have never grown it before. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in this pot, and then I can bring that inside in the winter. And apparently this is edible, but it has beautiful red blooms late summer that come out, and it attracts hummingbirds. I don't know at that point though. Late summer is usually the hummingbirds are heading back down south. So, but if it attracts hummingbirds, it's certainly going to attract other pollinators. So, any pollinator is a good pollinator in my book. Okay, let's see how that goes. Okay. Get these watered in. Okay, there we have it. Pineapple sage and a bay leaf tree. Now I gotta figure out where I'm gonna place them. I think full sun to part shade. I'm gonna have to maybe put it along this side of the house somewhere. I'll have to go scouring around and find a good spot for these two. These are the wren houses I was just telling you about. There's one at the back and two at the front. They're such beautiful little birds. We were floating around in the pool yesterday watching a couple of the wrens taking a bunch of sticks and leaves trying to make a little nest. Guess that means we'll have some more babies soon. So I grabbed my basket and my scissors. I'm going to go and see what I can find in the garden to put together for salad for lunch. I've left the pineapple sage here. Actually, I think I'm going to take a couple. I'll add them to my basket and I can put those in my salad. Oh, you hear them? I've got some lemon basil here. I'll take a couple pieces of that. Just regular sage. I think I can leave that, but I think I can see some red down here. These are my spoon tomatoes. Yeah, here's one. Little tiny spoon tomato. And I see another one over here. Oh, it is hot in here. You can see on these ones here, there are tomatoes. Just haven't started to ripen yet. They do very well in the heat in here. All right, let's head over to the garden and see what we can find. Oh, go too far, I'll take some mint. I might make some sun tea later. Okay. Strawberries are doing well, and the sweet potatoes. Let's see what we can find in the garden. I decided to bring the bay leaf tree in to the garden itself. Just put it here beside the potatoes. Now, yesterday, well, the cucumbers are starting to do well. Yesterday I did see a few shishito peppers. Ah, yes, here we go. Right here. I'm going to leave them to get a little bigger. And then I can have some for lunch maybe tomorrow. What I do is I pan fry them, a little tiny bit of olive oil and salt, and they are delicious. Just want to stop and quickly check my tomatillas here. Last night I came out and I had some bugs on them, so I gave them a quick spray, but they look pretty good. I'm not seeing any bugs today. Okay. Beans are all flowering. hoping to find some beans. No, lots of tomatoes growing, but nothing. That one's starting to turn color, but nothing to eat or ready to eat yet. These tomatoes. Let's come over here to the green stalk, which looks in, oh, look at all the flowers on the watermelon vines here. The flowers I've put on here, I've just taken off, but they're not looking the greatest. I am going to cut some of this lettuce. I think this is romaine lettuce I'm cutting. Oh, do you hear that? The woodpecker. On my deck box here, I have some basil. Works out perfect because it's right outside my kitchen. And I'm going to take a little bit of chives. It was a pretty successful, I would say that's a pretty successful forage. I got some romaine lettuce, some leaf lettuce, some chives, a couple of little spoon tomatoes, some pineapple, sage, some lemon basil, regular basil, and some mint. So I'm going to chop all that up and make a salad. I have some more tomatoes inside because mine aren't ready yet, so I picked up some this morning when I was out. And the helper chasing me around again. Okay, I think that's going to do it for today's projects. About time too, it's getting really hot out here. We were able to successfully harvest all of that garlic and put some beans in that bed. Hopefully we'll get a good success rate from those. We were able to plant the bay leaf tree and the pineapple sage. Again, thanks so much, Dawn and Julie, for those lovely gifts. That was really thoughtful of you. And we were able to grab a couple of things from the garden to make a nice salad today, so I'm very excited about all that. So if you enjoyed watching today's video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to help us grow our channel. We really look forward to making these videos for you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.